Hello, everyone. We are glad to announce our online session of BlockchainUA, the biggest conference about blockchain in Ukraine. And here is the particular session for our Swiss partners, the embassy and the company Redenia, who have been our partner for years. And the first, the first our presenter will be Mr. Patrick Vermelinger, who is the Global Enterprise member of the Executive Committee. I'm sorry, he's a head investor and investment promoter of Epsilon Global Enterprise, member of the Executive Committee. Hi, Mr. Vermelinger. Do you hear me?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, hi to Kiev and hi to everyone around the world.
Yeah, okay. So Mr. Vermelinger will be telling us, showing us his presentation. So Mr. Vermelinger, are you ready?
I am ready. Do you see my first slide, right, Switzerland?
Yeah, you could start with the slides. We could start the presentation, I suppose.
Super. Thank you very much, Lara, for that kind introduction. And again, everyone, good morning in Kiev and around the world. Thank you very much for having invited me to this very renowned conference. I'm really honored. Are you all ready to join me for a virtual trip to Switzerland?
I suppose everybody has answered yes.
Sensational, super. So then please join me to that country, which is not so far away from Kiev, which is full of mountains, rivers, and dense industry footprints, beautiful spaces, a lot of nice food, so very great place to live. And it is as well the place where Crypto Valley was born. It is a small town at the end, which was the start of the today Swiss-wide spread Crypto Valley, where at the time pioneers like Mihai, co-founder of Ethereum, was finding the right location because Zug's authorities were open to this new technology, giving space for new innovations and new business models. That was back in 2014. Today, Switzerland counts over 900 blockchain companies, being from locally ones established, but foreign ones coming into our country, and many multinationals having integrated blockchain technology in their services and products. And this is rapidly growing. As you all might know, it started in the financial industry back in 2014. Today,
Mr. Patrick, I'm sorry, could I interrupt you for a second? We see only the first page of the presentation, so I suppose you have to change the slides.
Okay, thank you for that interruption. Second.
Yeah,
better?
It is.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. It all started in the financial industry, where, for example, Amun, the company which launched its world's first crypto exchange traded products at Swiss stock exchange back in 2018. And Hani Rashwan, his CEO, has evaluated back at the time 28 jurisdictions worldwide and found in Switzerland the right spot to fulfill his mission and ambition. But as well, Wences Casares, CEO from Zappo, was very positively surprised about the go-getting attitude of Switzerland and its regulator back at the time when the industry and the technology was quite in its early stage, and decided as well to set up in Switzerland. Today, blockchain is much broader than in the finance industry. It goes on to the food industry, for example, Nestle, which integrated blockchain for track and tracing functions, but as well in pharmaceutical. We will hear about that in the next presentation as well, Novartis, or in the watch industry for verification applications. So it goes in many, many industries today, and in Switzerland, you will find a dense ecosystem of multinationals also interested in partnering with companies to help them to grow and to innovate in that space. What is the reason that all those companies finally did decide for Switzerland? One of them is for sure that they found the talent they were looking for. Switzerland, which is renowned for its educational system, for its universities, but as well for its research centers at the end, is providing a steady flow of graduate students as well in these technologies which you and your company can then find and build up your business in Switzerland, but then beyond globally and around the world. We have various specialized blockchain, computer life sciences and engineering facilities into those educational hotspots, into research centers, which you can partner with and build your business idea to become reality. Companies tell us that they also select Switzerland because they have already products in place. They want now to develop and to scale those products, and Switzerland is the ideal place to test and develop them. First, because you can find pragmatic collaboration with local universities and research partners. Top tech companies, they choose Switzerland especially to also establish this kind of function in our country. Or you select Switzerland because it is a good test market in the middle of Europe. You can test it in this market, and once it works, you can scale and grow within all of Europe. And you have a very high density of multinational headquarters providing partnering opportunities to develop or co-develop your tech products. Research and development is in Switzerland a very high asset because 3% of our GDP goes into research and development. And here you just see a snapshot of the many research entities, Swiss universities, research parks, where you can find cooperation partners from academia to co-develop products and services, not only in blockchain, but in all emerging technologies like AI, robotics, advanced manufacturing, or in the life science industry, in the personalized health environment. Based on this pragmatic collaboration, once you find a good result, we have also a good system that the IP, which comes out of a research study at the end, stays with you as a company, and you can leverage that IP then afterwards globally. Switzerland knows a very comprehensive patent, trademark, and design protection, as well as exemplary copyright laws. And for many years, we are proud to be on the top of those rankings when it comes to global innovation, because Swiss DNA is really to always find a better solution for companies, the world's questions of tomorrow. And this is an environment which helps you as a company to grow and scale globally. It's really essential that when you look into Switzerland and other countries, of course, that you think value, not only cost. And with this, I want to elaborate a bit on the skilled labor pool you will find in Switzerland. We compare on many fields to other jurisdictions in a productive way, that the average working hour in Switzerland is higher than in other countries. We have less holidays. We love to work, let's say. We had once a vote on having 2 additional weeks of holidays. That was 10 years more back. And Switzerland's population voted no, we don't want that. We know that it's one of the assets of Switzerland. So less holidays than others and less strike days than other countries. At the end, you get really a great value for the investment into employees in Switzerland, and in comparison to other countries, really low incidental wage costs when you compare that. So have a close look on that, and think it as an investment in value, and then you're doing great. We are having as well one word on Switzerland's environment in the tax space. So it's really an efficient cooperation with the tax authorities you will find when you visit our country and set up your company here. Tax authorities are business-minded. They see you as their customers, and they develop together ideas how the profits will be taxed in Switzerland. You have a planning certainty. This is important, especially now uncertain times. So based on the business model you plan to set up and based on the profit estimations you will make, Switzerland can give you an idea and then planning certainty how these profits will be taxed in the country. In general, Switzerland knows a very moderate tax climate, a very business-friendly tax climate on the corporate side, but as well on the individual side. And the tax system is very reliable. You can count on a country which, for its tradition, is stable, politically stable and financially stable. And this helps as well today, looking into the future, to count on a stable and already low established tax system as well for the future. So planning security is one of the top assets. We hear from foreign investors setting up in Switzerland that was one of the key drivers to decide for Switzerland. With this here, I deep dive a bit on blockchain, today's topic of the conference, of course. So Switzerland has a tech-neutral approach and a decentralized political system. A bit like blockchain at its base is set up, so very decentralized power to each entity. And this is reflected as well in this year. We integrate those technologies into existing legislation. You have heard earlier as well from Karin an outline on the DLT law and what that means for us in Switzerland, for you as a company. We also have the regulator, so the FINMA supervisor authority. They published guidance on how to deal with ICOs some years ago already, and were the first to introduce that in 2018. Just as 2-3 examples how we address the topic in Switzerland. And if you join me now to review a bit how we did that in the financial industry. So back in 2016, we began to remove barriers to entry for fintech companies. A year later, then introduced the sandbox regime. 1 year later, again, FINMA became the first regulator to the world to publish clear guidelines on ICOs. 2019, granted banking license for 2 Swiss-based banks, which are SIBA and Signum, making them the world's first crypto banks. And 2020, passed the legislative package impacting a dozen financial laws, bringing favorable changes to the blockchain and DLT sector. And after this various arguments why companies told us they appreciate Switzerland and expand and set up, I come to the 6 reasons why blockchain companies should address and should look into Switzerland when it comes to expand or to address global and European markets. And first of it is really brain power in our country, world's best education system, #1, as well in attracting and retaining talent. This is key when you grow your entities abroad, that it's easy, that the location supports you in the growth phase by being an attractive destination as well for talents. If you don't find them in Switzerland, you can recruit them from Europe or from outside of Europe. And the multilingual talent you will find in our country with international experience. Second, you will find legal certainty, not only on the regulatory bodies and legal guidelines, but as well security and certainty in the political and economical framework. And intellectual property is significantly protected. Third, birthplace of Crypto Valley, which started in Zug, the city of Zug, and then have grown over the whole country down to Geneva, to the canton of Ticino in south of Switzerland, but as well up in Basel, Zurich, Schaffhausen, and Eastern Switzerland. So today it's really all over the country, and depending on the business needs you have and client proximity you need, you will find the right location. Again, a very short distance to cross our country. Within 2.5 hours, you have crossed it north-south. So it's kind of a bigger city as well in your maybe understanding. So very close distances to everyone. Fourth argument is really our long tradition in protecting privacy, high data security in the stable environment. You will find a collaborative atmosphere. So again, high density of corporate headquarters to collaborate, safe playground for innovation, and as well a financial nexus where you might find investors into your business venture. And our authorities with an open, business-friendly mind to listen to your needs and consult what's best to do, be it from the regulator side early on, but then as well authorities you will find along your way setting and growing in Switzerland and beyond. So really a technology agnostic bottom-up approach of the authorities, an openness, as I said, and the business-friendly environment. This is in a nutshell what I wanted to tell you today about blockchain and how we address the needs of the industry in Switzerland, how we did it in the past, how we do it today, and what will be done in the future. And if you think at the end of this day or a couple of days later, yes, Switzerland is really attractive as a test market or as a base for your European or global business, then we would really like to get in contact with you to know more about your interest and intention, that we can help you on that way, setting up in Switzerland. On the side today is, of course, Olena Gut, head of commercial section at the Embassy of Switzerland, but as well the speakers which have started this session this morning and will come after this presentation, which you can address to how to really landing and launching operations in Switzerland. But that was the helping hand we want to give to you to answer upfront questions about our country and then to connect you with the right organizations and authorities back in Switzerland. And if the 6 reasons you have here can be summarized even in a more single strong picture, then your eyes go to the top left side of this slide where you see the Swiss flag, which has this white plus on a red circle as a summarizing advantage for you and your company, saying come to Switzerland and add value to your company and add value, of course, to Switzerland. With this, I would hand over to some minutes of questions if they did come in, and I'm looking to you, Laura. Maybe you can tell me if there were interesting questions which I could take and try to answer.
No, I suppose the presentation was, but so far we do not have any questions. Thank you, Mr. Vermelinger. It's really exciting, and I hope our viewers have now the overview of Switzerland and Swiss blockchain landscape. Thank you for your performing, and you will stay with us to watch other presentations of your native citizens. So maybe you do have some questions, Mr. Vermelinger?
I don't have questions. I just congratulate you and everyone to have this physical meeting today and this hybrid event, online and offline. I know there's a lot of work. Congratulations to that, and wish you a very successful conference and a lot of insights to the audience.
Thank you much. I want to again say thank you to all our Swiss partners. And we continue our online Swiss session, let's call it like that, with our next speaker, Mr. Eberhard Scheuer. Hello, Mr. Eberhard. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, so Mr. Eberhard is the president of the Health Foundation. Am I right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and so the topic of Mr. Eberhard's speech, of Mr. Scheuer's speech, is healthcare and blockchain, a perfect match. So, Mr. Scheuer, I'm giving you the word. Are you ready with your presentation?
Yeah, okay. Okay, can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we do.
First of all, good morning to Kiev. Unfortunately, I'm sitting here in Zurich. representing D-Health Foundation out of Zug, and we have just recently been renamed from HIT Foundation to D-Health Foundation, just to avoid any confusion. So I'm going to talk about healthcare and blockchain. And we think that Switzerland is a perfectly suited place for that because, as you know, Switzerland is the home of a lot of organizations around healthcare, the WHO, the Red Cross, and large pharma companies. It's also the second most expensive healthcare system in the world after the US. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just the way it is. And it's home to a lot of companies in healthcare, but it's also home to a lot of companies in the blockchain space. That's what we already heard. And in February this year, combined Liechtenstein, which is right next to Switzerland, and Switzerland, they have combined 960 companies or foundations, which is one of the usual legal entity forms that are used to incorporate crypto or blockchain endeavors. So one of the most famous is Ethereum, of course. Then you have Cardano, Polkadot, Tezos, and the list just goes on and on. But maybe people who are not so blockchain savvy think of Switzerland and healthcare and blocks in a different way, which is more like this. It's also Switzerland known for a lot of good chocolate, and so this is also something that has to do with blocks in healthcare. Anyway, so, but if we look at healthcare and blockchain, there just recently has been a meta study about the commercial success of healthcare endeavors in the blockchain space. And of course, they looked at CoinMarketCap, which is the place where only projects with a public blockchain and a token show up. And it's kind of very frustrating to see that most of the companies are basically have stopped operations or have wasted the investors' money almost completely. So like Medical Chain and Patientory, the return on investment is just below 1%. So this is not a very successful story. And that's also why a lot of healthcare projects on blockchain have been built on consortium chains like Hyperledger or Quorum. And one of the examples is PharmaLedger, which is quite hyped by quite a lot of partners. But in the end, it's a lot of project planning. It's moving slow because all the partners have to agree on a certain direction and what they want to implement. And despite the long list of partners, not much has come out of that projects within the last 2.5 years. So that's why I'm kind of glad that we have been able to implement real use cases a little bit below the horizon and the radar. And some of them are actually happening in Ukraine. And I guess that's also why I've been asked to present today. So we're basically having 4 ongoing projects in the area of healthcare, which is one. Our first one was with the National Lung Hospital in Vietnam, where people actually, when they report their treatment and symptoms, how the medications work, they can collect points, digital health points, which they then can use to redeem certain services in the healthcare system. And that is being done in order to increase the treatment adherence of the patients, which is very important in the context of tuberculosis and taking antibiotics. So this was our first project. It's still ongoing. And then we have one project in Ukraine together with the National Registry for Hemophilia patients, which I'm in a minute talking a little bit more about it. And this is also in the same alley of treatment monitoring and in exchange for tokens. And then we have a project together with the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute. It's in Mali and Ivory Coast. It's tracking rabies vaccines from Switzerland until the distribution to the patients. So they're tracked on blockchain. And one of the more recent projects is also in Ukraine, health certificates on blockchain for PCR test results. So I'm going to elaborate a little on those two projects in Ukraine. This is the one with hemophilia patients. And if you look at the upper right corner, what we use blockchain for is there's a request from somebody who wants data, in that case, the National Registry. They want to have a better understanding of the symptoms people are having. So they are basically the sponsor of that research together with the company Roche, Ukraine. And then the National Registry posts a request for information on the blockchain. And at the same time, all the hemophilia patients in Ukraine are asked to download the app. If they want to participate, they get a QR code. And by scanning the QR code, they can download the app, which is called Sentiva Health. And then they're already assigned to a cohort of hemophilia patients, which is important because instead of putting the data centrally in a database, what we do is it's a decentralized registry. So the app constantly reads the blockchain for new questionnaires that the patient can fill out. So the registry doesn't know the real identity of the person, and this is also a feature of blockchain where the identity of the people can be protected, the privacy. So the app constantly reads the blockchain, and then if there is a new questionnaire which the patient is eligible for, the patient, of course, has the choice to accept or deny. If they deny it, nothing, it stops here. If they accept it, they are guided to an outside data bank that's run by the patient registry, where they have to consent and then provide weekly bleeding rates, how they feel, and so on. And once they send it, then they automatically get rewarded with DHP, the digital health points, which they then can use to redeem certain services that are predefined, that are health related. So this is basically how it looks. They download the app, there are some basic questions, age, gender, and so on. And then they scan the QR code, which is presented by the doctor or the clinic when they agree to participate in that study. So through that, they are actually assigned to a study cohort, and then they only get, you see that on the left side, the surveys that are relevant for them, because of course in the whole population, in that Sentiva ecosystem, there are a lot of questionnaires that are posted on the blockchain for different users. So, but you, if you're assigned to a cohort, you only get those who are relevant for you. And then you see in the middle the questionnaire. And this is important. This is not data that's been collected in the app and stored by us who are running the app. This goes directly onto the data bank of the registry, because we don't want to deal with data, which sounds funny, but we don't want to be the custodian of data at all, because that comes with a lot of regulatory restrictions and problems, to be honest. So, and once they fill out those questions, send it, they automatically in the wallet, which is associated or built into the the app, they receive a cryptocurrency, which here it's called HIT, but now it's called DHP, digital health points, but it can also be different points or loyalty points, so to speak, that can operate in that app. So, and then the last step is, once you've collected a certain number of tokens, DHPs, then you can use those to redeem certain services, or in the future, discounts on certain medication and treatments. That's the whole vision of it. That's actually how we started out, that we wanted to give the patient's data value, because nowadays everybody is using patients' data without, first of all, telling them very often that the data is being used, and secondly, they're not sharing the monetization of those data with the creator of the data, the patient. So this is where we actually started in the first place, to give the patients an opportunity to earn some value with their data, and also being able to decide who's going to use the data. So this is one of the use cases. And the second one that we have implemented in Ukraine, that's actually with the employees of the company Roche in Ukraine, because middle of last year, when the first wave, or already the second wave started, hit the countries in Europe, they were saying, okay, everybody who wants to come into the office, they have to show their health status. And then we created, together with the lab, an interface where the lab directly can create a digital twin on the blockchain of the test result. It doesn't contain the actual result itself. It's just a test ID. So that what happens is that the validity of the test can be proven by anybody outside of the system via blockchain. And I'll show you just in a second how that works. And this is basically, it consists of two components. One is a registry, which is based on the blockchain, all the list of the existing tests that have been conducted, or i.e. their hash for verification. And the second component is the Health Pass, which is an app that can actually show the QR code of the test, which is the test results saved on the patient or the people's phone. And only once you go to entry control or want to enter an airport, for example, then whoever scans the QR code refers to the registry for verification of the test result. And this is basically more or less how all the blockchain-based solutions that are out there work currently. So it's upper right, somebody generates an attestation that you either have been vaccinated or have a certain test result. And then this is the proof of existence goes on the blockchain, but it doesn't contain any personal identifiable information. Then the person receives a QR code, either a printout, or you directly can take it from an iPad or a smartphone that's being presented to you, where the QR code is displayed. And then you can add that certificate to your app. This is the same principle that's being applied in the Apple Wallet, for example, if you add an airline ticket to it. So, and once you want to enter a restricted place, you show that certificate, and a third party who controls the entry to that venue scans this QR code and then can verify, as I said already, on the blockchain if that's tampered with or if it's a valid result. And then the person is granted access or denied access. And in our case, we're also working on that whatever is in the app can later on be exchanged with existing health records, the file format, for example. Okay, so these are the 2 use cases that we implemented in Ukraine that they're still running. And actually, the use case with patients, we are adding different indications and also adding different countries at the moment to that. But the learning of that was that really it needs blockchain is something which is being used in healthcare right now, but no of the existing blockchains are really suited for healthcare per se. You can do a lot of things with smart contract blockchains, with the modern like Cardano or Tezos, but certainly people have stopped building use cases on Ethereum, and that's mainly due to the gas fees. But there are certain components that for us are very important that are needed in order to have a blockchain where healthcare cases can be executed easily. And this is why we built certain components for the ecosystem. And certainly identity is very important, and you have that already with the key pair, with the wallet ID. What's also important is a patient-controlled data repository, which is linked to the blockchain and where the patient or the user can actually grant access to that repository and also withdraw the access to it. And then the wallet, because a lot of processes in healthcare are around payment processes and incentives. Then the certificates, the tracking, and everything has to be traceable and auditable in healthcare and also in finance. And last but not least, digital contracts, for example, in the context of insurance, health insurance are very important. So these are the components that we identified in the last 2 years that are important in order to make blockchain work for healthcare. And all the green ones we already implemented in our dHealth network, which is running since the Genesis block was laid March 29th. We currently have a couple of very renowned partners. Among those are the company Roche and also the University of Zurich Blockchain Center, who are running the nodes of our independent network. It's important to understand that dHealth network is a first layer blockchain. We're not operating on any other blockchain. So if you want, you can also play around with it. You can download the wallet from our website. And yeah, this is where you can find us and how you can contact us and get more information if you are interested in, for example, running a super node of the network or how you can build your projects on it. Okay, so this was it.
Okay, thank you. So far, we do not have any questions. Maybe Mr. Radchenko or Patrick, do you have any questions? I suppose you know everything also, right? Okay. Mr. Radchenko, no?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
No. Okay, thank you, Mr. Scheuer. Actually, I suppose that is great that you're making such a great thing, helping your country and all other countries in such a hard time, especially with COVID. I hope you everything will get fine soon, and everything and everyone will stay healthy. Thank you for your presentation. And our next speaker is Mr. Alexander Radchenko. He is a CEO of Redania AG, and his topic is launching your operations in Switzerland, practical scenario. Right?
Right. Thank you very
Good
much.
afternoon, Alexander. So here you are.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, lovely. All right. So thank you very much for having me at the conference. This, I believe, third or fourth time I'm presenting, and the scope of this presentation will be rather practical. So first of all, I do hope that all the previous Swiss speakers of the Swiss track in this conference, including Patrick and Eberhard, they convinced all the people who are watching us now that the Switzerland probably one of the best places in the world to place your innovative business, and specifically in the blockchain space. However, I would like to talk about very practical aspects of how your innovative business, for example, being a blockchain-driven company, but not necessarily, can benefit from being a resident of Switzerland. And this is the way I went through myself several years ago, and now we are helping other companies from Ukraine and not necessarily from Ukraine to do that as well. So first, couple of words. I don't think I need to spend much time telling like how perfect Switzerland is, but they're just my summary, if you like, just one slide. So first of all, for over 10 years in a row, Switzerland is recognized as the most innovative country in the world. Effectively, when you find yourself somewhere in the downtown of Zurich, you cannot really see like some crazy innovations around. There are no robots walking across the street, but actually, if you look at the more infrastructural and deep criteria or elements that define the level of innovation in the country, for example, the quality of educational system and collaboration between the academia and innovative companies, and many other factors, you will be convinced that in reality Switzerland deserved being the number one for many years. At the same time, historically, in many ways, because of the openness of the government in Switzerland to support the innovations based on the blockchain as a technology and the paradigm, if you like, it happens that this country currently hosts more blockchain-related businesses than countries that are times bigger than Switzerland, and that's why we are talking about this the crypto valley thing. But the crypto valley is not just about crypto, right? It's just a marketing name, if you like. In reality, I think the maturity of the blockchain as a technology and the way of thinking of decentralization of anything, if you like, it's already way beyond just the crypto. And Switzerland is the right place to be if you want to be the part of this movement. And last but not the least, Switzerland, again for several years in a row, is actually recognized as the expats' favorite country. And actually, the situation with the pandemic didn't change much in this perception. It's still fantastic, beautiful, safe, comfortable place to live, not just to do business. And I can only confirm from our experience of our company that having this predictable business and tax environment, it's extremely important and supportive, especially when you start in your journey as an innovative business. And the stability of the tax environment in Switzerland has very interesting feature, if you like. So changes in taxes are possible, but if there are changes, they're always in your favor, which is a good way of changes in tax environment. And last year confirmed that Switzerland not only provides you with a comfortable business and legislative regime, but also you can rely on the support from the country and many innovative organizations, and not only well established, but the companies making first steps in their development. They were relying on support from the government, and this support was pretty tangible and material. So that's several nice words about the country, and now let's look at the details. Some time ago, and actually for the first time, this initiative was announced on one of the BlockchainUA conferences. I believe it was 6th or 7th conference. Several organizations and institutions, they joined their forces to establish a program, if you like. And with this regard, we are working closely with the Embassy of Switzerland in Ukraine, and we collaborate with Switzerland Global Enterprise. And from the execution standpoint, the whole process, the whole initiative is orchestrated by the Radenia company, which I manage here in Switzerland, and our legal partner. It's a Swiss legal firm from Zug called Hodel & Partner, and also our consultant in tax and audit advisory, also based in Zug, a company called BRAC. So what's the idea behind this initiative? First of all, our goal is to promote Switzerland as the destination to start your innovative business, and especially to scale this business once you reach a certain level of maturity of your business ideas and market fit. Second, we would like to identify candidates, candidate companies from Ukraine, but again, we do not really limit ourselves with Ukraine. So we're looking globally, or at least we're looking at the Central and Eastern Europe region, potential candidates to consider moving or establishing their operations in Switzerland. And once this is done, we would like to provide a certain guidance to the relevant candidates in launching their operations in Switzerland, or maybe expanding their existing operations to Switzerland if your company already incorporated in other countries. So the natural question is how we going to do that. We have a very practical scenario. So if you believe that your organization can benefit from being a resident of Switzerland, and therefore use all the opportunities related to being a Swiss resident, you apply to this initiative, and we start with a certain initial review and consulting, including the eligibility check. And then we have a close discussion with you and your core team in order to define what would be your individual ideal approach, and therefore how the service package will look like in your particular case. Because definitely we have some pre-packaged solution, and primarily we are doing that to shape the expectations of our clients and partners in regard to how long will it take to have my operations up and running in Switzerland, or how much will it cost to me to keep your investments and costs under control. But at the end of the day, each and every situation is different. All companies is different, and therefore sometimes we need to tune up our standard proposal. Then on an ongoing basis, or just as a one-off exercise, depending on your needs, we provide, first of all, a legal consulting, which is again performed by our legal partner here in Zug, company Hodel & Partner. So this includes consultations or incorporation of your company or daughter company. It's also important to discuss matters like migration, because in some cases, the key people from the company or the founder or other key personnel which you need to establish your R&D center, for example, in Switzerland, close to the crypto valley or academics, those guys, they need to be moved from where they are now to Switzerland, and that's something that requires a certain separation and a thinking process. And we also help with authorities and banks, and actually incorporation on its own. It sounds easy, right? Because it's very like a straightforward process. There are no much problems with that. However, with all due respect to the transparency of the processes in Switzerland, some of the some of the routines you will face when you will be starting a new business, they're maybe not perfectly polished. And if you look at the same ranking of innovativeness of the countries, if you look at the parameter, how easy is it to start your company in Switzerland? Unfortunately, Switzerland wouldn't be in top 10, for example. So therefore, there is some knowledge and expertise and understanding of how to navigate the legal legal system and different kind of processes. That's something that requires the expertise which we are ready to provide. Right. In terms of accounting consulting, that's also important because here you can trust the authorities and here you can trust the regulation, and they really treat you as a partner, and therefore they expect you to be fair in the business you're doing in Switzerland and from Switzerland to other geographies. So therefore, an expertise in terms of financial accounting, reporting, all kind of compliance in terms of tax compliance, payroll management, and labor code in general, all that extremely important in Switzerland. And the good news is that we also have a partner for that. This is a company called BRAC from Zug, and they're on the market from mid-20th century. So therefore, they hold a great amount of expertise of how foreign businesses or businesses launched in Switzerland by foreigners operates, and how to support you throughout the whole journey of your organization in Switzerland. On top of that, we also are happy to provide business consulting. This is pretty much depending on your industry or the vertical you operate in. In some cases, we can support you with industry expertise, or we can share our network and help you to build the right strategy, connect to relevant people on this market and maybe beyond. But this is really individual, and this is something we need to discuss very specifically once you decided to launch your operations in Switzerland. And last but not the least, again, this is support to settle your organization and your team in Switzerland, because it's always a little bit of a stress for the organization, starting something from scratch in the new country, new for your business, and like simple operational questions like opening the office or filing the housing, or making sure that your organization and you as individuals, you are covered with all proper insurance products. This is very important here in Switzerland. So therefore, we will share our own experience. It's not something we learn from books. This is something we learn on our own way, and sometimes learn the hard way. So you'd better avoid mistakes we made previously, and that's why we are happy to share this experience. So at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that the optimal legal entity for your organization is registered in Switzerland. If it's required, keep people relocated and settled, and the company is given with all the advices you need in terms of business aspects, legal, accounting, compliance, and everything you would need in order to be efficient in Switzerland. And just to give you the idea, because many of our business prospects, they're always asking like a ballpark figure. And that's why I created this slide. And as you can see, there are lots of things included. So it's not just incorporation on its own, because it's relatively easy exercise, but it's actually a consulting on optimal location. It's power of attorney. It's consulting on selecting the proper legal vehicle and the taxation model for your organization. It's consulting on bank relationship, which is extremely important here in Switzerland, because sometimes opening, for example, operational account for the company, especially from the blockchain world, it's still not that easy as it seems. It's registration in the commercial registry. It's consulting on selecting the proper office, for example, for your organization. It's relocation support. And it's also very important that we also include a certain predefined number of hours of our lawyers to help you within the first half of a year since your organization is registered, or for example, you physically move to the country. Because believe me, you will have plenty of questions the moment you will start these operations, and therefore we would like to keep supporting you and not just stop at the moment you've got your company. Usually the incorporation process itself takes just several weeks. I mean, in case if you do have a local single signatory, which is not included into this price, but this is relatively simple thing to achieve, because you can delegate this right, for example, to one of our people, and then you take over the moment you are ready to do that locally from Switzerland, being a resident of Switzerland. And the process of setting this residence for yourself, for example, as a founder of this company, will take you a couple of months. Realistically, last year this process was a little bit disrupted because of the pandemic. But even having this hardship with pandemic, I must say that all the authorities, they were working pretty well, taking into account the harsh conditions. And I'm happy to share one of the success stories of one of the cases of our clients. And by the way, the interesting thing is that we met this client as a business process through our first presentation of this initiative on BlockchainUA conference. So thank you for the reference and being the source of a quality leads for us. We helped the company with Ukrainian origin to establish their operations in Switzerland. And actually, I must admit that was probably the most complicated case we ever expected to see. The company is from a medtech industry, so therefore they're falling under pretty strict regulations. So in general, the industry is really regulated. On top of that, there are new European regulation that was coming in force last year. So therefore, we were working together with our partners to identify the proper consultants here in Switzerland to help them to execute the whole bunch of regulatory questions and support them through the international technology transfer, which in their case for medtech is not always that easy. Of course, we faced all the possible complications caused by the pandemic, so it was hard to travel, and in some cases the decision making was delayed. But at the end of the day, this is a successful case for us, and our client was supported throughout the entire process. They are very happy with the job we've done, and therefore the reference is available upon request. We help them to register a legal entity, register the trademarks, and working with the consultant on the technology transfer. And actually, in the middle of this process, they had to change the business concept and the business plan for the organization to reflect the changes on the global markets caused by the pandemic. Because actually, establishing this entity in Switzerland, they would like to have an R&D and distribution center and a sales and marketing office and even a production site in Switzerland, and creating really a Swiss product according to local regulations. So therefore it will be extremely reputable on the global markets, and they're pretty much targeting the global market, being a Swiss company. So that's definitely a success story for us, and we are happy to share our experience with you and help your organization to settle and launch operations in Switzerland. And the very last slide from my end, this is actually the photo I did a year and a half ago, I believe. So I was driving to Zug, where we based, and I've noticed this banner. So the local government in Zug, they're placing the banners like that in different languages, and for quite a while, all the banners on all the entrances to Zug, they were in Ukrainian. So therefore they're saying welcome and laskavo prosimo, to Zug because this location and the canton and the city itself and the crypto valley, they're pretty open for new people, new ideas, new companies, new businesses. And there are lots of ways how the existing infrastructure can support you to starting your operations there and making business from Switzerland and in Switzerland as well. So yeah, I believe this is pretty much it. So I think we are perfectly in time with the presentation itself. And should you have any questions, I'm very happy to take.
Yeah, we thank you first of all, Mr. Reichenka, for presentation. Especially interested was the photo, the last photo. Hopefully that our interconnection between countries will only grow and strengthen. No, we do not have so far any questions. I suppose people will be watching this. Some people will be watching this part in record. So thank you very much for your presentation. I suppose this is the end of our Swiss part, but that's not the end of our online part. I want again to say thank you, and we do really appreciate our Swiss embassy partners and our partner Virginia. I also wanted to make a notion that today in the morning the presenter, the person from the Swiss, the embassy of Switzerland, Alena Gut, was opening one of our stages, our legal investment stage, and one more person from Switzerland also made the speech. It was Karin Loris. So our companies and our strategy is growing, and I hope it will be growing more and more. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Reichenka, and we are turning to our next. Today, this is the last but not least, as we say, our speaker. This is Mr. Alex Kazas. Unfortunately, due to some issues, he couldn't come in person. If he wants, he will tell you by himself what was wrong with him. It's somehow connected with the presentation of Mr. Scheuer. But Mr. Kazas, are you ready?
Yes, hello, Laura. Thank you very much.
Hello. So I hope you're feeling well. Mr. Kazas is the ecosystem lead at Eternity. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So and his presentation name is how to make most of Bitcoin's POW on hyperchains, right?
Yes, exactly.
So here you are. I suppose I'm finished here. The word is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Laura. Yeah, unfortunately, these weird times and a fake result for a PCR test have prevented me to go there. Hopefully, I feel perfect. So the PCR, yeah, it's a fake, but it prevented me to be there. Sorry for that, and thanks for having the opportunity to do this online. And hopefully, we are also here to change a couple of things, like this kind of things, to not happen. So still really, really happy to be here. It's also a very special talk for me because it's not only the first time that hyperchains are presented in public, but also it makes me a special illusion and excitement to be doing it at BlockchainUA. I was first in BlockchainUA in 2017, and I really miss my Ukrainian friends and my beloved Ukrainian community. So thanks everyone, thanks Anastasia, thanks Pavel, thanks thanks Vlad, thanks to our wonderful MC. And yeah, without any more delay, I will share my screen to have a little presentation. Let me start it, please. Okay, well, moment. Where is my screen now? Wait a moment. So you are seeing my screen right now, right?
You see your screen right now. We see all the pages to the left, so you can start. Yeah, here we are.
Okay, so are you seeing correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. Thanks again. It's a pleasure for me to be today representing Eternity and talking about hyperchains and the effect that it will have in making the most of Bitcoin's proof of work, improving the whole sustainability of the crypto space. First, I would like to give you a very, very short overview about who we are in less than the time of a microblog in Eternity Network, which is 3 minutes, even though confirmations of transactions happened every 3 seconds. So first, the project was started by Janislav Malachov, who is also said to be the godfather of Ethereum because of his early involvement in the development of Ethereum when it even have not a name. And if you want to check some nice piece of crypto history, you can look for that Medium post and learn a bit about those really, really early days. So the point was to design a blockchain from scratch to anticipate future problems that will come with future adoption, mostly about scalability, for example. So the core protocol implementation was written in Erlang. Some of you might know Erlang because it's used in highly critical and need for performance applications. Like, for example, WhatsApp was built on Erlang. And in fact, 90% of the internet traffic goes through Erlang nodes, for example. So it's a very, very powerful and secure language when you want to run highly critical applications like blockchains are. The mainnet was launched in 2018. So if you look at the dates, we were one of the first smart contract platforms to be launched after Ethereum. And we have some features that make us, for me, the most advanced blockchain in production. And I always say that I don't say that Eternity is the most advanced blockchain in production because I work in Eternity, but I work in Eternity because I think is the most advanced blockchain in production. So for example, thanks to the implementation of Bitcoin NG, we have a 3 seconds confirmation time, which allows us to have an on-chain throughput of 116 transactions per second, a tailored secure language based in functional programming for our smart contracts was developed, Sophia, together with the design of a highly optimized transaction engine, which is called the Fast Eternity Transaction Engine, which is optimized with several transaction types, which, for example, also allows that a Sophia contract bytecode is just 10% of, for example, the same contract in Solidity. For example, if you compare two smart contracts to deploy a token, one in Solidity and one in Sophia, the bytecode in Sophia is 10% the weight of the Solidity one. So it's much more efficient, allows us to process much more cheap transactions and faster transactions within the network. So this was also allowed because we were the first to implement the highly efficient Kuko cycle algorithm by John Trump. Now it's more known because it's used, for example, in Mimblewimble based coins like Green or Mimblewimble. And now we got to the point of our layer one, of our unique layer one. One of those problems identified has to do about easiness of development and security. So for example, oracles live in the nodes. They are an entity that are embedded in the protocol one and have a special kinds of account for posting and querying results of the oracles. But this is not all what we can do in layer one. We can also run off-chain smart contract executions thanks to state channels, which provide virtually unlimited scalability with no fees and an enhanced privacy. Apart from that, also the naming systems for having human readable addresses is present in the protocol, and we are a blockchain with very, very low on-chain fees, which makes possible now the deployment of some use cases that wouldn't be economically viable with the fees that we are seeing in the market. Apart from that, since 2017, we are in the top rank of GitHub repos with more activity. And last, to finish this introduction and go to the topic of the talk, there is a vibrant ecosystem spread all over the world with more than 30 apps in production on mainnet. So what are we up to now? Yes, working in hyperchains. So hyperchains, we like to think about them like as a It's a new consensus mechanism that we have developed as an open source contribution to universal blockchain scalability. In summary, and we will get deeper now, it's about a safe parent chain which provides a source of randomness for the leader selection in the child chain. And this consensus change is going to be proposed to the Eternity community, as we are going to see after. So what has been lately happening in the space? It seems that we have had like a debate, fight, some tribalism, some discussions with defendants of proof of work and defendants of proof of stake. So it has been like some years of deep academic research to try to overcome the trade-offs of both consensus mechanisms. But our statement was like about, why can't we be friends? Why can't we work together and mix both consensus mechanisms to have like the possibility of continuing challenging the decentralization trilemma, like we did with Bitcoin and G, with hyperchains? We can have decentralization, scalability, and security, while getting together the best of both proof of work and proof of stake worlds. So it's like, yes, what if we reduce existing hash of a network to secure more networks? And this is like a nice example. It's like, imagine in a nascent industry, some actor, some player in that industry might be producing himself a component that he needs for the production process. But later the market matures and he realized that it's no longer needed to produce that component himself, but to go out and buy it already made to the best manufacturer out there. So here it's somehow the same. Before we were producing blocks with the standalone networks, but then we realized that we can use blocks that are already made and rent or leverage on that blocks and bought them and use the ones of the best manufacturer out there, the most secure and best provider of block hashes, which is Bitcoin. So it's like you already buy the blocks made to have that source of randomness that we'll need to secure the child chain. Remember, in hyperchains, you have a parent chain, which provides that source of randomness, and then you have a child chain, which has another consensus protocol. In this case, in our case, it will be a proof of stake, but as we will see after, this also can be configured by any project. This is an open source. This is an open source contribution. So let's have a look to how it works. Like, imagine we have a validators. We are running a node. They receive delegations. They receive coins delegated from the stakers that want to make have a reward for their coins, but doesn't have the ability or doesn't want to run a node, and they are able to get rewards. Until here sounds pretty familiar to a proof of work, proof of stake, traditional scheme. The difference here is that aspiring leaders, those validators, to have the chance to be elected as leaders, they should publish a commitment transaction in the parent chain, which gives the view of the state of the child chain at a given block. When that block in the parent chain is sold, all the transactions committed by aspiring validators that are there enter into the raffle, like based on that source of randomness on that block has, and their staking under the delegatees, they get the possibility, the chances of getting selected as leader. And when they are leaders, they just broadcast transactions to the network just by signing them, and they can do so until the next block in the parent chain is sold, in which a new leader will be selected. A very special thing about the protocol and how the staking works is, like, for example, the block rewards are never in the custody, goes directly to the delegator. The staking contract is a very crucial part of the protocol. In fact, all the consensus rules rely on the staking contract, and one of the main principles for design was to have a direct reward to delegators without sending the money first to the let's say, staking pool, and then the staking pool sends to validators. So this is like a very high level overview of how it works. The new white paper and more materials will be published in days. So any of you that are curious about the technicalities and the more like deep details of hyperchain consensus will have soon all the materials they need to read about and realize the disruptive power of this new consensus protocol that is being developed by Eternity Foundation. So talking about the title, so this is like, and it's like simple maths. It's like really easy. When you start doing this, there is an immediate efficiency increase in Bitcoin network, because with the same consumption and with the same power, you are securing much more transactions. So these commitment transactions that are placed, in this case, in the Bitcoin network, allow millions of incremental transactions to be also secure by the Bitcoin network without an increment in the hash power. So this is automatically meaning that the individual energy consumption and emissions per transaction is dropping by a great factor, directly correlated to the amount of transactions in the child chain that are in fact now secure by the Bitcoin hash power. But this is not only the point. We have a double effect. On one hand, like we have already seen, we can increase the utility of Bitcoin network hash power, but also if a chain that is moving to hyperchains is a standalone proof of work, like Eternity is now, when moving to hyperchains consensus, it's not only that the Bitcoin network is securing that transactions, but that old proof of network, that standalone hash power, is eliminated and is substituted by that of the parent chain. So on one hand, you increase the efficiency of the parent chain transactions, of the Bitcoin transactions, and on the other hand, you just get rid and eliminate all the standalone consumption that was made under proof of work in the chain that is moving to hyperchains. So let's see how are we gonna, let's see the Eternity use case. Eternity will be the first network to be secured by hyperchains consensus, and this will be made first with a governance vote for the community to signal their interest to move to hyperchains consensus. But then there will be like a on-chain vote, which is de facto binding, because what will happen when hyperchains consensus is deployed, there will be a transition phase in which people can start depositing their coins and validators can start making their safety deposits, and the network will be monitoring the economical security of the hyperchains because of the staked coins, and will be compared to the proof of work security. And when that security is higher in the staking contract or in the proof of work, nodes will automatically ditch down proof of work and will start issuing blocks signaling hyperchains with a special nonce. So we will have that de facto vote, because when people is placing their coins in the staking contracts, they are in fact voting to have hyperchains activated. And in the precise moment that the thresholds are achieved, the hyperchains consensus will be activated. So this is also very important for our whole community and also for our coin holders, because this change will allow people to delegate their coins and start earning rewards. And also, not only through validators, but it's our intention. We firmly believe in the centralization of infrastructure, and we are working on a very simple interface and one-click installation for anyone to be able to be a validator and to receive coins delegated from others. Good news, yes, there is code released before the white paper. Sounds familiar? Yes, there is a Docker image available, which is like the first private testnet release, which allows to perform simulations and to play around with a local environment with 3 nodes working against the Bitcoin testnet for people to try how the consensus mechanism work, still with limited functionality, but the next step will be our public testnet, in which we will start a bug bounty program and also an external security audit before starting with that process of starting to stake coins for the protocol to be able to be activated. And yes, I have talked about eternity and implementation of hyperchains in eternity, but we are committed to open source and to contribute to a more private, decentralized, and free world. So hyperchains have been designed from scratch, having in mind that it should be possible for others with a great degree of customization to deploy their own hyperchains. So it's really an universal way to scale blockchains, not only the eternity network. For example, about parent chain, different connectors for the communication, for having the election of leaders can be developed for several chains, for whatever chains, but also the consensus mechanism in the child chain can also be customized and even change on the fly. So you can rather go for a proof of authority rather than a proof of stake, and you just you don't need like experienced Erlang developers to do that, because the framework is already made and thought of for that. So on top of that, and of course, hyperchains can be deployed in a public manner, but also in private, enabling like enterprise use cases, and also with the possibility, we have not get very deep in this, and I invite you to have a look to the white paper when it's out, because also hyperchains can be nested. So you can have like Bitcoin proof of work, then eternity proof of stake anchored to Bitcoin hyperchains, but then you can have eternity child chain of Bitcoin being the parent chain of another chain, and you can have plenty of those. You can start by increasing the transactions that are secure at the top level by the Bitcoin network by thousands, by factor of thousands. So we really think that this is like very good contribution to the whole crypto space sustainability. Pity that Elon didn't know this before start tweeting all the things that he's tweeting, but we hope that we can together, all the community, improve this sustainability of the crypto and the blockchain space using hyperchains as a way to increase efficiency on one hand of the existing and the most secure proof of networks, and also by eliminating a standalone proof of work that in fact is not really secure. Now, a chain with a low hash rate is very vulnerable to 51% attacks. When moving to hyperchains consensus, the security of the child chain is as high as the security of the parent chain. So when you move to Bitcoin hyperchains, if someone wants to do a 51% attack on your network, okay, come on, go on 51% attack the Bitcoin network. And yes, I would like you, if you didn't know Eternity, to get involved in our incredible community by joining the forum at forum@eternity.com. In this QR, you can directly enter into our English Telegram group. There is also a Russian-speaking one. And also, if you are interested in knowing more about becoming a validator, just ping me, because there is, like, for example, for exchanges, for wallets, for payment processors, there is a very interesting use case, because transactions that were to be made in any case can be leveraged to place the commitment and the state of the child chain in the up return. So they will have the chance to get rewards without any incremental costs. So just ping me here, and I think this is all. Thanks a lot for the time and for the opportunity. And yeah, we are thinking blockchain out of the box again. Thank you very much. Any question?
Thank you for the presentation. That was pretty interesting one about scaling all those chains. And
thank you very much.
I want to congratulate you with your first presentation about hyperchains. I think that it was amazing. We so far do not have any questions. Maybe our Swiss guests do have. Mr. Radchenka, Schauer, Werlemin? I suppose no. Yeah. at least. So thank you very much, Mr. Casas, for participating. Hope next time to see everyone. You, Mr. Casas, right, Mr. Radchenko, Shoyer, Velminer, everyone to see offline in Ukraine on our conference.
As soon as I can, I promise.
I hope everyone will stay healthy. Thank you very much for this
Thanks to you.
opportunity to be your host.
Thanks everyone, and enjoy one of the best conferences in the world. I can say, and I promise. Really, congratulations for an amazing work. See you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank you very much.
thank you very much. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.